I'm so pleased to be here with you today. I'm joined by my very honored guest. His name is Tim Wojtyniak, and he works with Group Skylark. And we are going to have a discussion about 7 attributes of a value driven professional. I'm very much looking forward to speaking with you. Thank you for being here in the studio.
My pleasure, as always. As always, I love that. We have an as always now. This is
Yeah, I like that, right?
it's good.
It's a continuing conversation, and that's
Absolutely,
the way we want it.
absolutely. Well, and this is
Absolutely.
a continuing conversation.
It
This
really is.
uh, last time was more of an extemporaneous conversation, sort of a continuation of our conversation when we met, and I wanted to put something together. Uh, a little more purposeful, a little more directed. So
Right.
we'll have conversation, but to add value. So when we talk about what we do and who we are, and we're in this mode of creating our careers, which is part of what we
Right.
do. It's where we spend most of our time. I
Yeah.
wanted to offer some ideas of things that these are from multiple sources,
Hmm.
right? That I've sort of
Distilled a lot of
accumulated.
knowledge.
Distilling instead of distilling. I like that. Yeah, it's
We're going to go
they're
with
they're
distilling.
stolen or borrowed or whatever. But I've kind of accumulated things that I think are important things in how we see ourselves uh, in the world of work, and also how we see other people. Right, there's really a conversation. Work is, if you're employed, and even if you're self-employed, you're being hired by people. So this is a
Right.
conversation where it has to make sense
Hmm.
for someone to hire and for someone to work for. So it's the power is distributed and it's a relationship. And so what these are 7 different things, 7 attributes of a value-driven professional, about how to see yourself, I believe, in ways that will make you valuable in the workplace, and so that other people who would be potentially hiring you see your value, right?
That's a very
So
good
that you
point.
can make the match. That's what it's about.
That's very true.
So,
So the first attribute,
so,
attribute.
so that's the title slide. One more.
Hmm.
So this is one of that. When I first said this, we were talking. You were like, "What?"
Yeah, got my attention.
Because it is a interesting way to look at it. I think it's unusual for most people, but seeing yourself as an economic product in the open market,
Hmm.
what does that mean, right? It means that you have to add value that can be sold
That's
for
true.
more,
That's true.
right? You have to. It's the economics of it have to work. Someone could hire you just because they think you're great, but ultimately that doesn't work. And so you really have to consider how much value you add and
Hmm.
to know your value. So you have to be a value adder and you have to know what your value is so you can
Right.
communicate with the people who might need you, right?
Right.
Uh, and,
It's true.
uh, one of the many people, wonderful people that I've had the opportunity to meet in my career, a fellow named Elliot Richards. We worked on a number of products at projects at a large manufacturing organization, and he was great at defining his value, and he
Wow.
proved out his value every year. He proved that he was worth way more than they paid him every year,
Wow.
and it was brilliant. And I got to see
It's
it more
unusual.
directly when we were beginning a project and we developed our idea of what it should be. And
Hmm.
I was an internal resource, so it wasn't he was paying somebody outside, but it still was his way to say, "All right, this is so worth it." And his case, he would always make the case that if it was this much money that we were going to save the company, it would
Yeah.
be worth it, right? They'd say, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And they see pitches like that all the time. But Elliot would go to the next step. He'd say, yeah, so what if we missed that and we're only half as valuable? Save this much money. Is that worth it? And he'd be like, oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
And then he would have it again. And it's like, so even if like for whatever reason we've totally misestimated, if it adds only a quarter of the value that it adds, is it still, are we paying for each other? Are we adding value to the organization? It was always a positive, and it was a great way to look at things, in
Wow.
my opinion. And uh, I strive to do that as an individual, right? My value
Right.
as a professional coming in to do business coaching or provide services to someone is dependent upon me being worth more to them
Right.
than they're paying
Then
me.
them, and also them trying to figure it out themselves.
Right, right. And so,
They don't know what they don't know.
yeah. So if you don't see yourself as an economic product in the open market, I don't know how to. I don't know how I thought before before I saw this, but that's essential. Is that you're there, you're adding value, adding more value than you cost.
Right.
A job can't be charity. It just doesn't work for anybody.
That's very true.
So starting with that outlook, then the next thing is an important mindset thing, is to see yourself as a hero, not a victim, right? And this is closely related to, and let's talk about that, right? Heroes transform. We'll talk story more in the future, but heroes, they change, they evolve, they get better. Victims stay stuck where they are.
Wow, that's an interesting observation.
Right.
That's true.
So be a hero. Have a hero mindset, not a victim mindset. And we'll hopefully we can talk more about the story, the hero story, but that mindset where you are a buyer and not a seller, right?
I've never heard that before with like looking for a job. That's so interesting.
Yeah. So if you know what your value is
Mm-hmm.
and you do actually provide that value, you're not trying to trick anybody with a resume.
No,
Right?
no.
You come in and you say, here's the value that I provide. And I have examples of this. I can demonstrate this. And so you are looking for a circumstance that's a good fit for you.
Right.
Right? You're saying, that looks like a great job. I can add value. I would like to be there. Fantastic. And even from the other side, they are in the position of being a buyer and not a seller,
Right.
Where they're saying,
They're a
I
buyer.
need somebody
Right.
that fulfills these things. So it's not entirely true that you're only a buyer. You're doing both, but coming in, recognizing that you're looking for the situation that's a good fit for both of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So never be the victim. Victims never go anywhere. If you think of the story. So
That makes sense.
and the third attribute is striving to be trusted and respected more than liked. Now, everybody wants to be liked. Right? It's just a natural thing.
Truly.
So if you're striving for being liked, you're being motivated by different things than striving to be trusted and respected, right? Trust and respect are durable things, right? They're not subject to the whims of who's in charge at one time, who you're with. If you have a reputation for being trusted
Mm-hmm.
and you're respected, that stays with you. You earn that and it stays with you. And your popularity
Mm-hmm.
is not your actual value, hopefully. Right?
Yeah.
So
That
how
makes
does
sense.
that land with you?
Well, and I feel that I think about your dad and also your grandfather, that both of them were trusted and respected.
Mhm.
And that was a lifetime because both of them were a long time at their jobs.
Right.
Right.
And the story I think I've told, but about my grandfather when he lost his job at Packard and was a custodian at my dad's company. My dad helped him get the job. He approached my dad and said, "Are you embarrassed that I'm a custodian?" And my dad said, "Well, it's my understanding that you're a very good custodian."
Yeah. He cared so much about
Right.
the job that he
Yeah.
did, right?
He says if you were a bad custodian,
Maybe I'd be embarrassed.
that might be troubling, but you're not. And so, it's the all work is noble, and he was respected for what he did, and he parlayed that into self-taught draftsman and a career recovering from the
That's
failure
incredible.
of the Packard company and his pension with it. So, right? So his reputation was what was important, right? He was trusted, he was respected. Great custodian. We know your work ethic. Have at it,
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So, number 4, this is one of those things we talk about, feedback, right? And it can be, I think, a euphemism for unleashing on somebody sometimes, right? Is to give them feedback. So let's, some important things there. This idea of a psychic shield comes from my men's group work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an idea that we need to learn how to protect ourselves. Right?
Energetically.
energetically, and to be able to hear things and not necessarily take them personally,
Oh, that's so important.
right? And
So
so
important.
the concept of the psychic shield is someone can be, well, in terms of my men's group, it's the idea that something is a projection. When you get upset about something, when a person gets upset about something, that oftentimes, and man, this is true for me, when I'm bothered by something, it's me. I'm seeing me. I'm like, oh, I need to do that. So armed with that awareness, we approach it as a projective. Everything's a projective. And so this person that is bothering you is really illuminating something, right?
Completely.
Right. And so,
Wow.
so developing the psychic shield so that when we have these conversations from the space of somebody clearing something, to be able to say, hey, it is very much about put up your psychic shield, listen to what this man has to say. Some of it may be valuable to you. You may have some things to say that give you insights into yourself. So
Right.
it needs to be permeable. You need to let things in if they're useful, but don't take it all in because a lot of it's their stuff, right? So in the work environment, we're all people,
Yeah.
and there's personality things going on, and someone's bad day may come across to you, the kick the cat idea, right? So being able to have that psychic shield so that the feedback comes in, it's like, listen to it. There's valuable perspective there.
Right.
Take in what's valuable to, take in what you have to take in. If they're your boss and their feedback is you need to do this differently, well, you either need to do that differently or
Right.
find someplace else. But
Right.
but that ability to not be in a reactive mode is a powerful thing. So
I think that's something that we get better at as we get older because when you're younger, oh my gosh, like, when you're a teenager and you think, oh gosh, they looked at me like this or whatever, and then you're like all upset and, like it just
Absolutely.
completely overtakes you. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like by the time, you kind of get to a couple of years in the workforce and everything, you can say that's them, that's not me.
Right.
But it takes a while to learn that, doesn't it?
I get the easier said than done, and that's why I
Yes.
introduce it so people can be intentional about it. It's like be aware of that and be mindful of developing that skill. So
That's a very, very important one.
and then this one reminds me of you in our conversation, Sue.
This one.
There we go.
There
A
it
bias
is.
towards action.
We like this one.
Right? That's why this exists. This possibility exists. Is your bias towards action? Is you wanted to do something and you made it happen? Right?
Yeah, I didn't realize. That's so amazing that something that you think would be a nice thing to do one time actually becomes a thing you want to do
Mm-hmm.
from here on out. Like, this is what I want to do. And it's wonderful to have the opportunity.
Right.
But thank you for shining a little bit of light on that. I'm shy and fearful and all that, but
That's a story you have about yourself, and I experience you somewhat differently, Sue. But yes, but you have a bias towards action, right? Because the only path to meaningful results is action, and you had this idea that you wanted to do this, and you did, and
so glad.
and now it exists because you took action, right? You could have considered it for an awful long time,
Mm-hmm.
and it wouldn't have produced results, right?
No, it's
Just
true.
not possible. So I don't mean reckless action. I mean considered action, but
Yeah.
you have to take action. I come from a long line of mullers. We mull things over. That is our thing. So this bias towards action, it can be learned, and it requires some learning. But it is truly the only way that things get done,
Yeah.
right?
Done is better than perfect is what I say to myself a
I-
lot
I-
because perfectionism it can really hold you back from doing what you really want to do.
Absolutely. And so again, these are talking about attributes of a value-driven professional, someone who is mindful of their value and produces value, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you are in a job, if you're doing something, whatever the circumstances, if you're not taking action, you're not producing results, you're not adding value,
No, that's true.
right?
Yeah.
So all of these things are being able to be valuable. So this next one, do not choose to be confused. Is sort of a weird way to maybe say this. So let me explain what I mean by this.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's easy to let ourselves tell a story that, I don't know what to do. I don't get this. I don't get this. Okay, well, that may be so that you're not fully understanding it, but I believe that oftentimes we may let ourselves be more stuck than is necessary.
Okay,
Right?
that's interesting.
Right. And so if you're really confused, do something about it. Right.
Yeah,
Right. How many times have you interacted with people in the world where you need them to provide a service, you need them to add value, and they are like, I don't know.
yeah, right.
Right? They're in the space like you've come to them to add value to your life by performing some sort of service, right?
Yes.
So we don't want that. So don't be that person that stays in the space of confusion. Choose otherwise. And Tony Robbins talks about being a leader, and a couple of things he says. One of them is see the situation honestly. To be a
Okay.
leader, you must see the situation
With
honestly,
clear eyes.
truthfully. Yeah, it's exactly as it is, all of it what it is. Not sugarcoating it,
Right.
not denial, not catastrophizing. None of that is the ability to really go in there and say, all right, here's the situation. I don't fully understand it. What is it exactly? Being able to
Right.
describe this. Now, this is a thing that I've noticed in a lot of places. I do a lot of informal tech support for people in my life with computers,
That's amazing.
and people say, this thing popped up, and then I couldn't do that, and it did this, and that's pretty close to what they actually say, and I can't help you much with that description.
Because they're not
It's
giving
like,
you
I don't
any
know.
information. There's
Right.
zero information.
So-
Okay, that's fine, but tell me
Right.
what you actually are
There you
experiencing on
go.
your screen, and then perhaps I can help you, right?
Exactly. And so see the situation honestly and be able to describe what is so as far as you can see it, right?
Right.
And then be powerful. Don't stay in the space of I don't know. Be in action. Here's how we see it. Here's what it is, and choose to be powerful,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
that's a choice.
you can choose to not be powerful,
Hmm.
uh,
You're gonna have different results.
or no results. Yeah, or whatever. Exactly. And so from that, the next thing is okay. The situation. I was a little baffled by it. A little confused.
Sorry, that's a different
Uh,
thing.
So we're on number 7.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if
It's
it's
around here somewhere. Oh, that's the bonus slide. Go back one.
because the one before it is not. It's not really.
Not working?
Yeah.
All right. See, this is the tech
So
support thing that we
can
talked
still.
about.
Yeah, that's so
That's all right.
funny,
We can
isn't
just
it?
talk about it.
It's so funny.
Attribute 7 is be a possibility person.
Okay. Yeah, we can totally talk about it. I
So
think that's
one
great.
of someone
Be a possibility person. So you kind of dwell in possibilities and don't think, oh, I can't think of anything. So it's better if you think of possibilities because then you have choices, or how do you?
that's it's being in a creative space, right?
Mhm.
Seeing what's possible instead of what's not possible. Do you know any not possible people that no matter what the circumstance is, they are not possible?
Yeah,
Right. People, oh, well, no,
Right.
that couldn't work.
right
'cause
away.
No.
You're like, oh my
Well,
God. So-
right?
Yeah.
So,
And it's like if you say something could happen, you're opening the possibility that there would be a way to figure it out or to ask for help, and think, well, this could be, and not it can't be until you've
Right.
checked it out. Really,
Mhm.
have you really looked at all of the options? And sometimes another set of eyes, you see more ways of dealing with something, and it's just such a great thing. You're not following. You're not always by yourself, limited by your own vision. But if you look at something with me, then you're going to have this universe of possibilities that I never saw.
right. And one of the possibilities is someone else may have a different perspective. If you keep the perspective, it's like, oh, I know what this is, and this won't work. There's no way that it's going to work, right? But I know those people. I was trained to be one of those people.
Wow.
I will say to some extent that as the son of a failure analysis engineer who was very good at it. My father
Wow.
was his work was studying things that went wrong.
Right. What are all the different ways that this could go wrong
Right.
so that we can solve the problem before it even happens, kind of thing?
It's a powerful thing to be
That's
able to do
incredible.
that, and it can
Admire
also
that.
lead to being an impossibility person,
Yeah, that's true.
right?
I
That
never
like,
thought of
oh, well,
that.
that's going to go wrong because of this. And that's going to go wrong because of
Right.
that. So there's a an important balance here that
Hmm.
has to come in seeing things as they are, seeing the truth. That's the previous one, right? Is
Yeah,
being able to see that,
exactly as it is.
including these vulnerabilities. You know, my dad was really good at that. It's like, oh, see that? Here's what's going to happen to that.
It's funny how,
And it would, and he was right. And so there's value in that.
yeah,
And
and
it's about the what is possible.
right.
And he was good at that. He was good at avoidance of failures too, or he less good at creating
Yeah,
things because I think he was just so steeped in what could go wrong, what could go wrong.
right.
Uh,
Yeah, and people's lives are at stake and things like that
mhm.
with like failure analysis. So it's very important that he does focus on everything that could possibly go wrong. So it's
Yeah,
almost like he has like antenna out for like,
right.
okay, what are different things that can happen? And it does make you focus on that. That's his job. But it's just really wonderful that that doesn't limit who you are growing up,
Right.
that you are really a positive thinker and that you absolutely brainstorm with people what their next step would
Hmm.
be. And you'd be able to tell them why I think this is a possibility. And
Hmm.
so that's much more useful
Yeah.
as a coach, certainly.
Well, and it requires the choice. I think that's what it is. Is I'm so grateful for that training, and I do need to back off on my characterization of him as well because I also know that he was the guy who taught me possibility in certain arenas. I think that's what
Yeah.
it is. That to be fair to him is that uh, in the physical world,
Hmm.
he was a possibility person. In some other ways, he wasn't, and that's right. He was who he was. He was a lovely man. He was perfect just as he was, and
You
he,
certainly raised some great
that's
kids.
well. I hope so, but he also did teach me how to be a possibility person. To be able to say, like, I had an accident in my car, one of my cars, and I thought, oh, that car's totaled. What it is, and I was devastated. And my dad was on the phone. We dragged the car back to the house, and he was on the phone, and he was back. He says, "All right, here's what we're gonna do. We got a place that's gonna sell us a wrecked car, a car that's been wrecked in the back. We're gonna cut the parts off of your car that are damaged,
My goodness.
and we're gonna cut them off the other car, and we're gonna weld them on." And thankfully, I had those skills to be able to do that. And so this big circular saw, and I'm cutting the front of the car off. Uh,
That's crazy.
and then we
That's
fitted
crazy.
up, and it required brackets to make things fit and all that. So I
Wow.
would be careful about asserting that he was not a possibility because he absolutely was. Like it blew my mind. And a
Wow.
girlfriend who had an accident in her car, and she backed into somebody, and she was like, "Oh no, it's wiped out." And I said, "Oh, we'll just cut the back end off. And we'll get a good
Meld
back
it
end
to
from
the.
another car." And so I
That's
had a back
hilarious.
end of a Volkswagen shipped to my office from Oregon,
Oh my goodness.
and we welded it on.
That's
So,
still expertise, isn't it? It
but it was
still
first the
is.
idea that it was possible, right? He had no
Yeah.
idea, but
Yeah.
he was like, "I'm not going to let this be the end result that this car is
Right. He
totaled."
would not
And it's like
accept
there's got to be
defeat.
something out there,
Right.
and he made it happen. So
That's
apologize, Dad, because I'm clear.
Thank you, Dad,
The
because
the possibility
he'd
people.
be very
So
proud of you right now.
yeah. And so the other piece with the possible person is creating a vision to live into. When we're in the creating possibilities. This could happen. This could happen, and it's something to live into. It's a
Yeah.
future to live into instead of being
Right.
stuck with, oh, that can't, that can't.
That's true.
And so
Be open minded
yeah.
about how things could go, right?
So these are ways to add value in an organization. I have a bonus one here because I
Okay.
couldn't be stuck with just 7, and it's be your best self.
That's the wrong. There it is. Yes. Okay. Be your best self.
And this actually it's combining different elements of theirs, and that needs to be corrected. But be your best self. This idea that we can be our best self and we can see each other as our best selves. We
Yeah.
can help each other live into this future.
Yes.
Um,
Absolutely.
just remember that's how you add value. Is like I can do that, or I can learn how to do that,
Yes.
or I can help somebody else do things. All this being our best selves. So as we talked about, that's how we help create each other.
I think so. Absolutely.
So those are ways to be aware that you have to add value. That's just the truth of the matter.
Yes.
And be mindful of it and find ways to add value. Be valuable, and you will be seen as valuable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of nice. You're shifting your emphasis into possibility and into value and away from I'm not good enough or they're never going to talk to me and all those kinds of things that we say to ourselves. It's really great to shift into another way of thinking because that can give you a better future. Like that could change a lot of things, right?
Well, it's away from commoditization that any person is just plug into the spot to do that thing,
Right.
right? And there are jobs that are like that, but I think everybody has their own unique abilities in finding what those are, to making them visible,
Mm-hmm.
and finding a circumstance where they can shine and add value in those ways and develop and have a
And
mutually advantageous relationship like
and
that.
be happy, right?
Right.
Yeah,
That's what I
it's
hope for people.
amazing. So yeah, I'd like to have another conversation. This has been an amazing discussion because we brought up a lot of different points that that people can do right now to make their situations better. And so I want to thank you for being here with me and for being so easy to talk to and so clear. Really appreciate you, Tim. Look forward to our next time together. Thank you so much for watching. Go back to here. Thank you so much for watching and very much value your support. And so we'll see you next time. Thank you very much.